Use the time. Yes, yes. Dear colleagues and friends, attention. The sitting is open. So, on behalf of you, I would like to declare the 2023 after New Year, our ordinary session of the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe declared to be open.
They cannot hear.
No?
Emmanuel, come closer, please.
Okay.
Closer.
Now is better.
And use the hammer. Palm.
Now is better. Thank you. Allow me, dear friends, to say that our sitting is open and to declare our ordinary session of this after New Year 2023 session of the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe to be opened. So, welcome, and I would like to welcome Secretary General. Nice to be together. Allow me, friends, being not, I'm sorry for my joke, being not oldest, but long-standing member of our assembly and having honorable duty to say a few words on the beginning of our session, and after that we will go with all possible procedures for election and for approval of our seats in the committees and in the chairmanships. So, allow me to say that I remember very well when I entered these facilities of Council of Europe Parliamentary Assembly, this hemicycle, for the first time in '93. And at the same time I met Despina. It was for her first year too. So Despina, 30 years for both of us together. And I can humorously tell Despina, and you still radiates youth, that the condition in our post-Soviet prisons were indeed poor. Well, that was your connected to your report during those times. But later, Lithuania accepted the criticism and corrected the situation. Separately, looking back on the history of the Assembly, I would like to thank Kingdom of Denmark and their delegations for the historical resolution proposed in 1960 by the courage Member of Parliament, then conservative leader of Danish party, Marie Antoinette von Lowzow, died in '85 and adopted by the consultative Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe regarding the non-recognition of the occupation of all three Baltic states by Soviet Union. In '96, Russia was obligated to withdraw its troops from Moldova and to pay compensation to those deported to Siberian gulags. And most of those commitments from the '96 by Russian Federation was not fulfilled. We will be heading for another world war, Dan told our delegation when Russia rejected to fulfill all their obligation to Council of Europe Parliamentary Assembly and to Council of Europe Executive Part. If you remember, dear friends, Russian Democrats in this room, in the chamber, talked about it's the most. Boris Nemtsov, standing with his head held high at the Maidan barricades in Kiev, said that the Russian Democrats are with Ukraine. And for that he was killed in front of Kremlin. After Russia invasion to Georgia in 2008, after the unprovoked annexation of Ukrainian Crimea in 2014, with the representative of bordering states, especially Poland, Baltic states, from time to time our Romanian colleagues constantly try to warn you about the threat to us from Russia. Ukraine, which now has the status of a proud European Union candidate country, is now under attack of mass murderer. This country, Ukraine, even during the war, when the bombs are falling, heroically takes decisions that correspond to the spirit of the values of the Council of Europe. Dear Secretary General, let's applaud our Ukrainian friends for that you continue to vote in favor for conventions and resolutions created by the Council of Europe. We just recently unanimously recognized the Kremlin regime as a terrorist. Therefore, I hope that on May 17 of this year, the upcoming Council of Europe summit in Reykjavik will achieve concrete results in stopping Russian aggression against the all democratic world. Persons who commit crimes of aggression in Ukraine must face retribution and take responsibility for their actions. And so to those who gave orders to destroy cities and kill everyday civilians. Is it for this purpose that a special tribunal must be established to investigate the crimes of Russian aggression? Where the dividing line is drawn today, dear friends, by the democratic world, it will remain there for many, many years to come. In his speech yesterday on the occasion of the 63rd the year 1963 German-French agreement, President Macron drew attention yesterday to the project of the European Union, which we will all have to defend. We must defend European sovereignty, like it was struck by German and French leaders yesterday. After February 24th, we unanimously reached a formula and would like to strike unanimously in this chamber, reach the formula of all kinds of support, including tanks for Ukraine. Therefore, I ask each of you in your political parties and groups in your honorable districts to seek support for the Ukrainian nation, which is bravely fighting a desperate war of our values. As the great bells struck midnight in the Kremlin on New Year Eve just a few weeks ago, the cheer went up, the Russia expanding. You should know, Mr. Putin, that the entire democratic world, shoulder to shoulder with Ukraine, is toasting not the expansion of Russia, but the enlargement of the space of democracy, peace and European values. To that we can say in this New Year, hooray. On 27, just in a few days, we will commemorate the International Holocaust Remembrance Day. You know very well, like former colleague Boris Silevich, I am from Holocaust survival family. My mother, Polina, had spent 4 years in the Nazi camp, tortured every day. On behalf of the victims of the Holocaust, I would like to ask Mr. Putin to stop using the false anti-Nazi slogan against Ukrainians, to stop using the sacred memory of the victims of the Holocaust for the criminal imperial expansion of the territory of Russia. So, be brave, Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe. Glory to Ukraine. Slava Ukraini. Bon courage. Now we will start the examination of the credential. The first item on the agenda is the examination of credentials of members for the 2023. year ordinary session of the Assembly. The credentials have been submitted to the President in accordance with the rule number 6 of the Rules of Procedure. The names of the representatives and substitutes are document number 15687. If no credentials are challenged, the credentials will be ratified. Are any credentials, dear friends? Yes, about credentials.
That's Harold Weil from Germany.
Angenehm Ihnen zu sehen, ja, bitte.
I must challenge the credentials because our delegation has been corrupted by the last elections on the federal level. The composition of the delegation consists of 2 members of the left party, and the left party did win their seats only on the special rule of 3 direct mandates, 2 of them in Berlin, and the Berlin elections have to be repeated by order of the Berlin Supreme Court till February 12 of this year. So the composition of the delegation is not just because of the results and the organization of the elections of 2021, which has to be repeated. Therefore, I bring it to your attention, colleagues, and may you back my motion that it has to be challenged. We are democracy, and we are exemplary democracy, and that's an issue which concerns not only Belarus, but all countries which are members of this great assembly. Thank you.
Danke herzlich. Wie heißen Sie doch?
Weil.
This is not the first.
W-E-Y-E-L.
Danke herzlich. Merci beaucoup. Thank you. The Assembly now will have noted what your dear colleague said, but I must rule that it does not constitute a formal objection under our rules of procedure. So I will still thank you for your contribution, dear colleague. So for that reason, I would like to declare credentials set out in document 15687 are ratified. Okay? So thank you. I would like to go ahead and as an election of the President of the Assembly. The next item of the agenda is the election of the President of our Assembly. We have received 2 candidatures. That is for Mr. Tini Cox. Here is in the hemicycle, yes. Incumbent president of the Assembly, member of the Dutch delegation, and member of the United Left Group, and our dear friend Alexander Mereshko, member of the Ukrainian delegation and member of the ACDI Group. So the list of candidates and supporting signatures can be found in the document under number 2023/03. Accordance with the Rule 15, the President shall be elected by secret ballot. If neither candidate obtain an absolute majority of the votes cast at the first ballot, there will be a second ballot, in which a relative majority will be required. The vote will be conducted using the electronic voting system. I would like to announce that 5 tellers representing each political group will help oversee the election and counting. The tellers are, I would like to announce the names. From Socialist Group, our dear friend, Madame Clotilde Bushka. From APP Group, Ria Oomen-Ruiten. From ALDE Group, Mireille Clapeau. From ACDI Group, Oleksiy Goncharenko. From UL, United Left Group, Paul Gavan. So that's all our honorable friends who will be counting and supervising the elections. So now I would like, with your support, to invite the Secretary General of Parliamentary Assembly to recall the voting procedure and to present the technical arrangements that have been put in place for these elections. Please, the floor is open, Madam Secretary General.
Thank you, President. So as it has been announced to you, please note that the vote will be conducted electronically using the SkyTel system online voting platform. I remind you that only members entitled to vote, namely the representatives and the substitutes who have been duly notified within the prescribed deadline, will be able to take part in the vote. To vote, you must use your personal email address as well as the mobile phone number you have previously provided to the Secretariat. If you have any problem because for some reason when you put your email address it doesn't work, please make a sign to us. We have the list of all the email addresses you have provided to the Secretariat. If for any reason you don't receive the code by SMS, that normally is the procedure, within a few minutes after you have identified with your email address, again, we can help you. There is a help desk just behind the chamber for this purpose. Just make a sign to us. When the voting is open, you will indeed receive an email with a link to the electronic ballot, and then you follow the instructions. Another message will follow you, will inform you of the closure of the vote, but this is in any case foreseen for 12:20. So again, please, if you encounter any technical problems, just make a sign to us. We will be helping you. We can also provide for you the link to go into the ballot procedure as soon as you show up that there is any problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you for clarification, dear Despina. I would like now to announce that we are moving to the election of the President. It will now open the vote, which will close at 12:20, means we have 1 hour, after which the votes will be checked and verified. The results today will be announced at 1 o'clock p.m., and the Assembly will conclude the other items of business for the first sitting as set out in the draft agenda. So I'm declaring that the vote is open. I would like to declare to you that, again, that the result will be announced 1 o'clock. Despina just provide for us the technical support for those who will be a little bit lost in technical procedures during to the electronic voting. Thank you. So the consultation, if you like to have, is behind in the place where was former place of our voting, usual voting, yes, behind the scene here, in the podium.
je pense qu'il va être et ça vaut la peine. Oui, mais tu sais qu'on va avoir beaucoup de bien sûr. Oui, vous êtes prêts?
No, no.
Can
Yeah.
you take your seat, gentlemen, ladies?
Slowly, slowly. Dear friends, I would like,
Merci, oui, parce que c'est
yes,
trop long.
I would like to ask you to take your seats. We are underway to announce the results.
Okay, so- We cannot take point of order during an election. After the new president takes the floor. Okay?
Dear colleagues, dear Secretary General of Council of Europe, it's an honor for me to being shortly here and presiding our great assembly to announce the results for the election for President of the Assembly. So just now I will go through the points announcing the results in every puzzle of the elections. The total number of members voting was 223. The number of spoiled ballot paper was 4. So the number of valid votes was 219. I would like to remind you that 110 votes are required for an absolute majority of the votes cast. So now I'm declaring the results. Mr. Tini Cox has received 175 votes. Mr. Alexander Mereshko received 44 votes. So, looking to the fact that our colleague Tini Cox has received 175 votes, and that is absolute majority of the vote cast, I declare Tini Cox elected President of the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe for this ordinary session. I'm glad to congratulate Mr. Cox on your elections. And I would like to invite Mr. Cox to take his place. We spent many years together, so together with you, friends, and Mr. Cox, you will allow me to wish you good, healthy, and safe New Year, and Slava Ukraini. Thank you.
Monsieur le Président, from the Dutch delegation.
Madame la secrétaire générale, Monsieur le secrétaire général adjoint, Madame la secrétaire générale de l'Assemblée parlementaire, Mesdames et Messieurs les ambassadeurs, membres de l'Assemblée. Madame la secrétaire générale,
Secretary General, Deputy Secretary General, Secretary General of the Parliamentary Assembly, ambassadors, ladies and gentlemen, members of the Assembly, and greetings to all those who are following our meeting online or from the public gallery. I would like to start by sincerely thanking Emanuelis Zingeris for presiding over the first part of this 2023 session. And I would also like to congratulate Mr. Mereshko for taking part in this election. But I would like particularly to thank all the members of the Assembly who have re-elected me as your president. I welcome your support for the coming year, which could be just as full of challenges as the year which has just passed.
Last year, we were confronted with the beginning of Russia's unilateral war of aggression against our member state, Ukraine. We together had to take unprecedented steps. Less than 1 day after the invasion, we suspended the membership of the Russian Federation in the Council of Europe. Within 3 weeks, we expelled Russia from this organization because of its blatant violation of our statute, which obliges us all to maintain and protect peace in Europe. By crossing Ukraine's borders, as I said several times, Russia also crossed our red lines. Within 2 months, we adopted the proposal to create an ad hoc tribunal to deal with the crime of aggression. And since then, the support for this Assembly's proposal is growing as member states and other international organizations, including the European Parliament, now endorse it. We also adopted many other relevant decisions and took many bold decisions and actions to counter this illegal unilateral aggression and its awful consequences for the state and the people of Ukraine. May I thank all those with whom I worked hard on these matters last year, and I hope we remain as committed, creative and united this year. Thank you very much, Madam Secretary General, and thank you very much to the ambassadors and the Committee of Ministers, the leaders of the national delegations and political groups, the President of the Congress, the Human Rights Commissioner, and all the others for our intense and fruitful cooperation in these challenging times. And may I ask you all to continue this cooperation, as now we are on the road to Reykjavik for the 4th Summit of Heads of State and Government mid-May, very much also at our request, to decide on the future of the European multilateral cooperation and on our place in Europe's political architecture. May I ask you, dear members of this Assembly, to continue to intensify our functioning as one of the most relevant European agoras, to find together sustainable answers to the existential questions in these so dangerous times. May I especially thank the great team of our Secretariat under the leadership of our Assembly's Secretary General, as well as the members of my private office. Together, they make it possible for me and for us to do our work to the best of our abilities, together with the great staff of our whole organization, led by our Secretary General of the Council of Europe. To do the best what we can do, which is so much needed in these very challenging and, as I said, dangerous times. Dear colleagues, the war has been dominating and is dominating and will continue to dominate our agenda and activities. And it is dominating every single day of every single Ukrainian citizen. As we speak, again, Ukrainian people suffer and die in a war that should never have started and must end as soon as possible. May I therefore propose, as we did before, to have a moment of silence for all the victims of this brutal Russian aggression. Thank you so much. I wish to repeat what I have said many times in the past. This war should never, ever become a normality, and we must not allow our attention to be shifted away from it. It is on our agenda. It will stay on our agenda until we achieve what is set in the statute of this Council of Europe, to achieve peace. I salute the members of the Ukrainian delegation who are with many here amongst us, and I ask them and you all to begin this first plenary session of 2023. Much will be asked from us all, from me, but also from you, and I'm confident that together we can deliver. Thank you very much. Let's now start working. Thank you very much. I hear a point of order. Mr. Little Granger.
Adopted. I'm so sorry, it took a little time to cut in. Congratulations, Tini, on being adopted. But I wish to talk about a point of order that happened earlier, and I don't know if you heard it. The credentials of the German delegation were challenged because of the situation in Berlin. The person who actually challenged them, I'm not sure if he's in the room, I can't see that far because I haven't got my glasses, but word up the word credentials twice. He's sitting in his place. I've also looked at Rule 7 and I cannot see where you have to use a type wording. If the word challenge credentials was used twice, and it is on the video, Mr. President, it is there, then why were we stopped? I would ask you, Mr. President, that we be allowed to stand on this issue, because I believe that this situation has not been handled well, and I know you were not in the chair, so it is not your blame, but I do think that this is not the way we should, in a democratic organisation, be behaving. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I take note of your remarks, Mr. Little Granger. What I was in the hemicycle, what I saw that a statement was made by a member of the German delegation. I did not hear him indicate whether he was challenging credentials on Rule 7 or Rule 8. Sorry, sir, you do not have the floor, and we behave here in a normal way, so I do not know from which parliament you come, but you do not shout, you do not say rubbish, you just listen, and we are now answering a point of order of Mr. Little Granger. So that was not indicated. The rule, the chair then ruled that this was not a challenge of the credentials, and there he asked whether the credentials would be accepted. There was no opposition, and then the credentials have been adopted. Whatever is said now, I will seek advice of the president of the Rules Committee, but these credentials have been adopted. We cannot undo that, and I would like to leave it here. If it's the same point of order, we are not going to continue. You understand that as well, eh? Okay, you have a point of order.
Does this work? My point of order, Mr. President, and congratulations on your election, is that you should look at the video.
Could you please repeat it, because I did not understand?
Mr. President, my point of order is that the words challenge the credentials were used, and all you have to do to believe that is to look at the video. I understand you may not have seen it, but all you have to do is to look at the video.
Thank you very much. But what I concluded, no, sorry, we are now going to stop the discussion. What we do conclude, one, the credentials have been ratified. That is a fact, we cannot change that. And I will seek advice from the chair of the Rules Committee on what has happened, and if needed, we will come back on the issue. But the decisions have been taken, this decision is taken. I now continue with the rest of our agenda. Next item on the agenda is the election of vice presidents of the Assembly. 18 nominations for vice presidents are listed in document AS/info 2023-01. If there is no request for a vote, they will be declared elected. I do not see a request for the vote. Since there is no request for a vote, I declare these candidates elected as vice president. I congratulate them all on their election, and the vice presidents shall take precedence by age. The next item on our agenda is the appointment of members of committees. The candidatures for the general committees of the Assembly have been published in document Committees 2023-01 and addendum number 1. Are these proposals agreed? I do not see any objection, so they are approved, and the committees are appointed accordingly and can now, from now, function. Let's see where the agenda brings us now. Before we examine the draft agenda, the Assembly needs to consider requests for debates on urgent and current affairs procedures. The Bureau has received the following: a request on an urgent procedure on the legal and human rights aspects of the Russian Federation aggression against Ukraine, requested by the Committee on Legal Affairs and Human Rights, a request for a current affairs debate on recent tensions between Pristina and Belgrade, requested by the United Kingdom delegation, a request for a debate under urgent procedure on attacks against public service workers, requested by the ECDA group, a request for a current affairs debate on how to improve Council of Europe's cooperation with civil society as a way to strengthen and protect human rights, democracy and the rule of law, including in Belarus and the Russian Federation, from the Norwegian delegation, and a request for a current affairs debate on addressing the humanitarian consequences of the blockade of the Lachin corridor. I inform you that at its meeting this morning, the Bureau decided to recommend to the Assembly to hold the urgent debate on legal issues and humanitarian rights violations related to the aggression of the Russian Federation against Ukraine, as well as the current affairs debate on recent tensions between Pristina and Belgrade and addressing the humanitarian consequences of the blockade of the Lachin corridor. We will first consider the request for debate under urgent procedure. Does the Assembly agree to the Bureau's recommendation to hold an urgent debate on legal and human rights aspects on the Russian Federation aggression against Ukraine? I do not see objection, so the Bureau's recommendation is accepted and the request for urgent procedure is therefore approved. It's proposed that the debate will take place on Thursday morning as set out in the agenda and be referred to the Committee on Legal Affairs and Human Rights. As said at this morning, the Bureau agreed to recommend the Assembly that a request from the ACDA group for a debate on the urgent procedures on attacks against public services is not supported. Is the Bureau's recommendation accepted? Sir?
Car burnings and target attacks on firefighters, medical staff and security forces on New Year's Eve have become a yearly habit in several countries: Belgium, France, Germany, Netherlands, Austria, Sweden. Public servicemen and women are there to protect and help us.
It's not time to have a long statement.
I want to ask for a vote to put this debate under urgent procedure back on the agenda.
Mr. Little-Granger?
Mr. President, thank you very much. The reason this is important...
Sorry, Ian, I'm now not following the rules. We have one speaker on each issue. So
right.
We will surely hear from you during the week, Ian, but here you have to follow the rules. Okay. No. We have now this request for a vote. That means that we have to put it to the vote?
Yes.
Yes?
One speaker.
And as you see, I'm just elected, so I have to. I could not see these files before because that would not have been fair. But there is an objection to the Bureau's recommendation on the request for an urgent debate on attacks against public workers, and we therefore must proceed to the vote. We will hear one speaker for the request, one speaker against, and a representative of the Bureau speaking in its name. Who wishes to speak in favor of holding this debate? Sir, you have the floor. 30 seconds.
And targeted attacks on firefighters, medical staff and security forces on New Year's Eve have become a yearly habit in several countries: Belgium, France, Germany, Netherlands, Austria, Sweden. can name them all. Public servicemen and women are there to protect and help us. We owe it to them to give these terrible crimes the necessary attention in this assembly. So I want to ask for a vote to put this debate under urgent procedure back on the agenda where it belongs.
Thank you very much, sir. Who wants to speak against the request? Nobody wants to speak against this. Oh, sorry, George Katrougalis.
I would like to support the decision of the Presidential Committee of the Bureau to proceed with the debates that we have already decided. But I should also consider on its merits the request for the urgent debate by the European Conservatives group. I think that what they promote, that the celebration of a perceived injustice not to become a pretext for mass riots, arson and vandalism, is not of emergent, of the character of an emergency that needs to be discussed. And in my understanding, also, it is a kind of criticism to demonstrations in general, not violent demonstration, not this kind of events that we all wanted to avoid.
Your 30 seconds have passed. We have now had one speaker in favor, one. We now shall vote on the request for urgent procedure. Please listen carefully. The decision needs 2/3 majority. Those who are in favor of holding this debate should vote yes. Those who are against holding such a debate should vote no. The vote is open. I close the vote. I call for the results to be displayed. The request is rejected, as it does not have 2/3 majority. We are now on page 25. We now come to the consideration of the request for current affairs debate on Rule 53.1. The Assembly may hold one or two current affairs debates. The first request is for a current affairs debate on the recent tensions between Pristina and Belgrade from the United Kingdom delegation. At this meeting this morning, the Bureau approved this request and therefore recommends to the Assembly that the matter be debated during this part session. Does the Assembly agree to this recommendation? I do not see any objection. Therefore, the request for a current affairs debate is therefore approved, and the debate will be opened by Mr. John Howell. We now come to the second request for a current affairs debate on addressing the humanitarian consequences of the blockade of the Lachin corridor from the United Kingdom delegation. At this meeting this morning, the Bureau approved this request and therefore recommends to the Assembly that the matter be debated during this part session. Does the Assembly agree to this recommendation? I do not see any objection.
Correct, please. It's the Presidential Committee. It's not the UK delegation.
I do not see any objection. I have to inform you that this was a proposal from the Presidential Committee. I see an objection. Mr. Seedorf.
Mr. President, let me first of all congratulate you with your re-election to this position, and I hope that you will be able to manage this Assembly in a very acceptable way today early in the morning we see some problematic issues which are very strange, especially for me as a member of the EC group. Mr. President of our group already mentioned about that. But I'm against this current affairs debate, of course, because this is not true. I know that I will be in minority, but I have to say that this is not true. The Lachin corridor is open, and that's why when you are entitled, said that humanitarian consequences of blockade, this is exactly against the realities in the region. That's why I am completely against, and I have proofs for that. I will be able, I hope, to present to this assembly the real facts that the road is open and nobody is going to block the road. But some forces try to present the situation in absolutely upside-down situation, and that's why I'm against.
Thank you very much, Mr. Seydov. You spoke against this debate. Is there anyone who wants to speak? No, first we are going to finish this one. Yes, I hear you, sir, but first we are going to finish this one. Does anyone speak in favor of the debate to be held? Does anybody wish to speak in favor of the debate to be held?
You can speak against, no?
Do you want to speak against? Mr. Rubinian, you have the floor for a point of order.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think we shouldn't accept the objection by Mr. Seydov simply because you asked, is there anyone against? There was no sound after that. Then you said, okay, no one against. It was after that that Mr. Seydov said that he objects.
Point taken, but we have listened to Mr. Seydov, we are listening to you, and now you wanted to speak in favor of the debate, Mr.
Yes,
Rubinian.
now I have to speak in favor, but I still think that this is against the order. Anyway, the situation, the Lachin corridor is blocked, and we have a catastrophic situation in Nagorno-Karabakh. It's a humanitarian crisis. It's not even a crisis in the making anymore. It is a crisis, and it has to be debated. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We now shall put the proposal to the vote. A simple majority is needed. Those who are in favor of holding the current affairs debate should vote yes. Those who are opposed to hold this debate should vote no. The vote is open. I close the vote and I call for the results to be displayed, and the current affairs debate is approved. Mr. Paul Gavin will open, Mr. Pierre-Alain Frides is going to open the debate. Then, we now come to a request for a current affairs debate. We already have adopted two, eh? Yes. So that ends the story.
Exactly.
So we cannot deal with a third request because we have already adopted two current affairs debates. So, the draft agenda, no. The next item of the business is the adoption of the agenda for the first part session of the 2023 ordinary session. The draft agenda submitted for the Assembly's approval was adopted by the Bureau this morning. Is the draft agenda agreed? It is. Should we go no further? Any additions to this, or we finish that? We now come to the adoption of the minutes of the proceedings of the standing committees. The minutes of the standing committee in Reykjavik on the 25th of November have been distributed. I invite the Assembly to take note of these minutes. That is the case. The Assembly will hold its next public sitting this afternoon at 3:30 p.m. with the agenda which was approved this morning. Sorry for some misunderstanding in the beginning of this debate. I hope the rest of the week will be excellent. The sitting is adjourned.